Book of Heaven, Volume 24, Part 5. May 6, 1928. The children of the divine will shall not touch the earth. Bitternesses of Jesus. The electric wire. According to my usual way, I was all immersed in that divine fiat, that more than sun shines in my poor soul. And my always lovable Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, my love toward the children of my will be such and so great that I will not permit that they touch the earth. I will lay my steps under their feet, so that if they walk, they may touch my steps, not the earth, in such a way as to feel within them the life of my steps, that will communicate the life of the steps of my divine will to the steps of the children of my will. If they work, they will feel the touch of my works, that lining up will communicate the virtue of my will to their works. If they speak, if they think, they will feel the life of my words and of my thoughts, that investing them will communicate the virtue of my fiat to their minds and words. So I myself will be the carrier of the children of my will. I will be very jealous that they may not touch anything, so that they may take part in nothing, and may feel my life flow continuously within them, forming the life of the eternal will in theirs. Therefore, they will be the most beautiful works of my creative hands. Oh, how the work of creation will be reflected in them! They will be the triumph of my redemption. Everything shall triumph in them. And then will I be able to say, "My works are complete." And I will take rest in the midst of the children of my supreme fiat. Then, after I wrote what is written in these past days, my mind was molested by fears and doubts, that it might not be true that blessed Jesus had told me so many things, but rather they were the fruit of my imagination. And I said to myself, if it was not Jesus that spoke to me, these will be writings without life, because only when Jesus speaks does life run within his word. And as I write, the life of the truths that Jesus has told me remains in them, in such a way that those who will read them will feel the communicative virtue of a life that is being infused in them, and will feel transformed into the very life of the truth that they will read. But if it is not Jesus, these will be writings without life, empty of light and of goods. So why make the sacrifice of writing? Now, while I was thinking of this, my sweet Jesus came out from within my interior, and placing his head close to mine, with an air of sadness, told me, "My daughter, you embitter my feast. In fact, when I manifest a truth, I do it because I want to celebrate with the creature. And if she does not have full trust in me, and begins to doubt, the feast is interrupted and turns into bitterness. I act like one of two close friends, who, loving his friend very much, wants to pour what his heart contains into the heart of his friend. And as he entrusts to him his secrets and his hidden joys, he makes him aware of everything he possesses. But the friend who is listening shows he does not believe him and begins to doubt what his friend is telling him. This person embitters his friend and turns his outpouring into bitterness. And so, grieving, he almost regrets his entrustment, and full of bitterness, he withdraws. On the other hand, if his friend believes him, not only does he not embitter him, but he takes part in his goods. Together they celebrate the joys that his friend possesses, and their friendship remains bound with double bonds of love. So I am, or rather, more than friend. Loving so much her whom I have chosen as my little secretary, I want to pour my heart out and entrust to her my secrets, my joys, my hidden sorrows, my surprising truths, to celebrate together and to communicate to her so many divine lives for as many truths as I keep manifesting to her. If I see that she believes me, I celebrate, and I put out, and in feast, the joys and the happiness that a divine life can possess, which possesses the infinity of all goods. And the soul is filled and celebrates together with me. But if I see her hesitant, I remain embittered, and she remains empty of the life that I would like to entrust to her. You often repeat to me these scenes of distrust, so be attentive, and do not want to turn my joys into bitternesses. I remained all confused and did not know what to answer. After this I continued my round in the divine will, and my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, as the soul enters into my will, she puts her electric wire in it that extends up to the point at which one wants to form light. In fact, the light is not formed where the wire is put, but where it ends, concentrating the electricity of light into a light bulb. Now, as the human will enters into mine, at the reflections of the sun of my Fiat, it converts into light and forms its little light. And the electricity of my will extends the wire of the human will and forms its little light, more than light bulb, at the point that the soul would like to reach before God. And God, on seeing the little light of the human will, invests it, and with the electricity of his divine light, he converts it into sun, and forms the most beautiful ornament for his divine throne. It is so beautiful and delightful to see that the soul from the earth, on entering my divine will, puts in it her electric wire for heaven, and extends so much as to reach its center, which is God, forming his adornment of light, and to see these lights converted into sun. May 10th, 1928. One who does the divine will enters the divine order. How pains cannot enter the divinity. Example of the sun. I felt I was under the nightmare of an infinite weight. My poor mind moaned with suffocated moans, without the vent of being able to let them out. because of the privation of my sweet Jesus. And while I felt consumed by the harrowing pain of being without my life and my all, that very pain, making me intrepid, destroyed in me the life of the pain. And while I felt immersed in pain, incapable of expressing myself, it was yet pain without pain, sorrow without sorrow. And in my bitterness I thought to myself, and why am I not able to grieve? I feel an infinite pain in me, as infinite as he who left me. Yet, as I try to penetrate into a pain so just and holy, which is that of being without my Jesus, so as to water my poor soul, the pain escapes me, and I remain without the life of the pain. My Jesus, have pity on me. Do not leave me in a state so unhappy. But while I was thinking of this, my lovable Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, one who lives in my will enters the divine order. And since our divinity is incapable of pain, nothing, even the slightest thing, can in the least shade our perennial and infinite happiness. And as much as creatures offend us, the pain, the offenses, remain outside of us, never inside. And if pain could enter into us, it would immediately lose the nature of pain and would convert into happiness. In the same way, for one who lives in my will, pain cannot enter her soul. More so, since in feeling the light, the strength, the happiness of the nature of my divine will within herself, she already feels in possession of that Jesus of whom she seems to be deprived. How can she grieve if she already possesses him? Therefore, pain remains outside of the soul, that is, in the human nature. And while the soul feels all the spasm of my privation and the weight of an infinite pain, which is the privation of me, because she is invested by the divine Fiat, she seems incapable of grieving. And so she feels pain without pain, sorrow without sorrow, because pain and sorrows cannot enter the sacrarium of my will. They are forced to remain outside. The soul feels them, sees them, touches them, but they do not enter into her center. And if they did, my will would lose its happy nature in you, which cannot be. It happens as to the sun, which is incapable of darkness. All human strengths cannot make one atom of darkness enter into its light. However, darkness can extend outside of the light. But the sun loses nothing, neither its heat nor its admirable effects. It is always triumphant in its state of light. Darkness can neither make it go down, nor does it take anything away from its light. However, if the sun could grieve, it would feel ill in being surrounded by darkness, even though it can cause no harm to its center or to its happy state. However, this is a pain that surpasses all other pains, because it is pain of divine order. How many times my humanity felt it! It felt itself being crushed. All pains weighed upon me. But inside of me, the divine will was untouchable by all my pains, and possessed immense happinesses, beatitudes without end. It can be said that there were two natures in me, one opposed to the other, one of happiness, the other of pains. Oh, how my human nature felt the pains more vividly before the immense joys of my divine nature. This is why you are incapable of expressing yourself, because these are pains of divine order. And if before, when I would hide from you, you felt that everything would turn into pain within you, it was because the life of my will, in its wholeness, was missing in you. Therefore those voids were filled with pain, and you would feel sensitivity to the pain that rendered you not imperturbable and peaceful as today, but agitated, without that firmness that gives of the divine. And I would immediately run to sustain you, because I did not see all the indelible characters of my will. In fact, what my will places is never erased, and I, feeling assured, leave the task to my divine fiat. May 13th, 1928. One who lives in the divine will has everything in her power. She is the new repeater of the acts of the Virgin, of the saints, and of our Lord. I was praying, and I felt I didn't know how to pray, or to love, or to thank Jesus. So I said to myself, how I would like to have in my power the love and the prayers of the Sovereign Lady, and of all the saints, to be able to love and pray Jesus with her love, and with her prayers, and with those of the whole of heaven. And my blessed Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, my daughter, when the soul lives in my divine will, she has everything in her power, because my will is the depository and the preserver of everything that my mamma and all the saints did. It is enough for her to want it, and to want to take what they did. That love runs to her. The prayers invest her. The virtues place themselves in order, waiting for those who have the honor of being called to give her the life of their acts, and to form for her their beautiful and refulgent crown. So the Queen of Heaven feels her love and her prayers being repeated. The saints, their virtues, by the creature on earth. And oh, how they enjoy in seeing their acts being repeated again. There is no greater glory that can be given to the celestial inhabitants than to repeat their love, their prayers, their virtues. And I feel once again as if my mamma were there loving me and praying me. Their echo resounds in you, and as you repeat it, you make your echo resound in heaven, and all recognize their acts in your acts. Would you not feel honored if someone else repeated your acts and modeled his works on the model of yours? with what love would you not look at him? And if you knew how much I enjoy when I hear you say, I want to unite myself with the thoughts of Jesus, with his words, with his works and steps, so as to line up together with his thoughts, with his words, and so forth, over each thought, word, work, and steps of creatures, in order to repeat together for all and for each one what Jesus did with his thoughts, words, and everything else he did. There's nothing you did that I do not want to do myself, so as to repeat the love and all the good that Jesus did. I feel myself present on earth. I feel my acts being repeated by you. And I keep waiting with so much love for the repetition of my acts, that I, myself, become actor and spectator in you, to enjoy them and take for myself the glory of my own life. Therefore, the creature who lives and operates in my will is recognized by all heaven as bearer of divine joys for the whole of heaven. And keeping heaven opened, she makes the celestial dew of graces, of light, of love, descend upon earth over all creatures. May 20th, 1928. Divine Messengers. The Celestial Circular. The acts done in the divine will form the ecstasy of the Creator. Necessity of the continuation of acts, how they form many hours to call for the dawn. The Virgin, dawn of redemption. I was concerned because of a circular I received from the House of the Divine Will, so much wanted by Venerable Father de Francia, and so longed for by him, who did not have the consolation of seeing it completed and opened for the purpose wanted by him. And now, finally, according to what the circular said, the day of its completion, probably near, was arising. So I thought to myself, is it really true that it is will of God for me to go there? And the members of this house, will they be the true little daughters of the divine will? Will they be the beginning of the rising of the divine era of the kingdom of the supreme Fiat upon earth? But while I was thinking of this and other things, my sweet Jesus moved in my interior and told me, my daughter, each saying, work, and sacrifice that is done in my will is to obtain its divine kingdom. They are many messengers sent to the celestial fatherland that carry the divine circular and make it circulate through all the saints, the angels, the sovereign queen, and the Creator himself, giving to each one the task to prepare the different things that are needed for a kingdom so holy, so that everything may be done with decorum, with decency, and with divine nobility. So, all the inhabitants of the divine fatherland, with this celestial circular in their hands, all get down to the work of fulfilling their task, of preparing each thing assigned to them. So, the circular from earth echoes the celestial circular, and heaven and earth move, occupying themselves with the one purpose of the kingdom of my divine will, the earth, with all that is needed in the natural order, the celestial court, with all that pertains to the supernatural order. It seems that heaven and earth hold hands and compete with each other to see who hastens more to prepare a kingdom so holy. If you knew what value one act done in my will contains, how it can move heaven and earth, how it can open its way everywhere. It places itself in communication with everyone, and obtains everything that was not obtained through all acts together, and for centuries. These acts are not one sun, but as many suns for as many acts as are performed, that form the refulgent and radiant day of the kingdom of my will upon earth. The acts done in it are spurs to the Supreme Being. They are magnets that attract it. They are sweet chains that bind it. They are raptures in which the creature has the power to form the ecstasy of her Creator, who, enraptured as though in a sweet sleep by the ecstasy formed by his beloved creature, concedes what he wanted to give from many centuries. But he had not found she who, making him ecstatic with his very divine power, would be the capturer of the kingdom of his divine will. As the creature moves in my fiat and forms her act, God feels enraptured, and in his sweet drowsiness he feels disarmed and conquered, and the creature becomes the winner over her Creator. With these preparations, it happens as to a groom who, having to marry, prepares the house, the bedroom, and all the objects that are needed, so that nothing may be lacking to him. Then he goes on with the attire for the wedding, and the invitations are sent out. All this makes the groom decide to carry out what he himself wanted. But if nothing is prepared, the groom takes time and never makes up his mind. And he himself feels embarrassed and says to himself, "I must marry, and I don't have a house. I don't have the bed in which to sleep. I don't have the attire to appear as a groom. What impression will I make?" And by necessity, he gives up any thought of becoming a spouse. In the same way, these preparations, the acts done in my will, the circulars, are spurs that move my will to come to reign in the midst of creatures. And my knowledges are like the groom who comes to marry the creatures with new bonds, just as they came out of our creative hands. Afterwards, I was feeling tired, exhausted from the privations of my sweet Jesus. I felt that my poor and little soul could take no more without him, in whom I had centered all my hopes and the whole of my very life. Without him, everything I did that was taught to me by Jesus seemed to be a game, prayers from the imagination, not of glory for God. And so I felt such listlessness in doing my round that I could barely go on. But while exhausted, I continued my round. I felt that Jesus, sustaining me, was pushing me from behind, telling me, "My daughter, continue on. Do not want to stop. You must know that everything has been determined by the Supreme Being. Prayers, acts, pains, sighs, that the creature must do in order to obtain what we ourselves want to give her, and that she longs to receive. So if these acts are not performed, the longed-for sun does not rise from us in the midst of the long night of the human will, to form the day of the kingdom of the divine Fiat. This is why many times it happens that many acts and prayers are done, and nothing is obtained. But then because of one more little sigh and prayer, one obtains what he so much longed for. Was it perhaps the last act to obtain the deed of grace? Ah, no, it was the continuation of all the acts and prayers. And if it appears that it is obtained through that last act, it is because that one was needed to complete the number established by us. So, if you want to receive the kingdom of the divine will, do not stop. Otherwise, since the long chain of acts that reaches up to the throne of God would be missing, you will not obtain what you want, and what we want to give. The acts are like the hours that form the day or the night. Each hour has its place. Some hours form the evening, others the deep night, others the dawn, others the rising of the sun, others the full day. And if it is the midnight hour, in vain would one expect to see the sunrise. It is necessary that at least the dawn come to court the nearing day, in order to see the majesty of the sun that dispels the darkness with its empire of light, and putting an end to the night, pearls all nature, and makes it rise again in its light and in its heat, molding everything with its beneficial effects. Now, is it perhaps the dawn that has all the honor for making the sun rise? Ah, no, the dawn has been the last hour. But if the other hours had not preceded it, the dawn could never have said, "I am she who calls for the day." Such are the acts, the prayers, to obtain the rising of the day of the kingdom of my divine will. They are like many hours, and each one has its place of honor, and they hold hands among themselves in calling the refulgent sun of my divine will. The final act can be like the dawn, and if it is not performed, the dawn will be missing, and it is useless to hope for its day of light to arise soon upon the earth, which molding and warming everything, more than sun, will make its beneficial effects and its divine regime felt, a regime of light, of love, and of sanctity. The same happened in redemption. Redemption did not come for many centuries, because the patriarchs and the prophets found themselves with their acts in the night hours, and from afar they longed for the day. As the Queen Virgin came, she formed the dawn, and embracing all the night hours together, she made the day of the Word arise upon earth, and redemption was accomplished. Therefore do not stop. The series of acts is so necessary that there is the risk that if not all of them are performed, the desired good is not obtained. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 24, Part 5. Fiat.